Hi everyone, welcome back to module number 3, Culturally Responsive Pedagogy. Today's lesson title is The Principles and Strategies of Culturally Responsive Pedagogy. I'm going to be completely honest with everyone. Today's lesson is going to be super long and didactic. I'm going to be speaking probably for the next 30 minutes. I'm going to try and be as succinct as possible to ensure that you're getting as much information out of the time that we have together. But I'm asking you to please pay attention because the information I'm providing is really, really crucial towards building a culturally responsive classroom. In today's lesson, we will cover the following topics. Number 1, the principles of culturally responsive pedagogy with a closer lens. And number 2, 5 strategies of culturally responsive pedagogy for classroom instructors. Our learning target for today is I will be able to describe the 5 strategies utilized in culturally responsive pedagogy. As a reminder, culturally responsive pedagogy is a pedagogy that recognizes the importance of including students' cultural references in all aspects of learning, and that's by Latson and Billings from '94. They were the ones that came out with this completely new approach of trying to incorporate cultural responsive teaching in a classroom environment. And they broke it down into 4 main categories. Number 1, bringing native language into the classroom. Number 2, understanding history and culture. Number 3, community culture into the classroom. And number 4, family involvement. So we're going to take a moment and look at each of these categories one at a time. So we're going to look at that first bucket, bringing native language into the classroom. The power of language is one that has mystified humans for millennia. Moreover, the ability to communicate effectively across borders and cultural boundaries is a skill that people have been working on since the establishment of the first villages and tribes of the Neolithic Revolution. Utilizing languages of your learners within a lesson, in however big or small a manner, has been proven to increase student buy-in throughout your lessons. This can be something as simple as counting in a different language or referencing modern slang that connects with your students. Try it. Our second category is understanding history and culture. A couple of years ago, a teacher was reprimanded for reenacting conditions on American-bound slave ships by tying the African American children of the classroom together, having them squeezed together in a tight space, and then allowing the white students to walk freely. Another scenario has a teacher constantly reprimanding students for not making eye contact when speaking to or answering a question posed by the teacher. As one may imagine, both situations caused students to immediately shut down and or become embarrassed. Where did these teachers go wrong? Well, there are many places, but it started with their inability to understand the history and culture of their students. So in this bucket of culturally responsive pedagogy, understanding our students' history and culture will help us really and truly determine whether or not our students are going to be comfortable with a given situation or scenario we present them with, and whether or not they're being disrespectful or belligerent, or if they're just following their cultural norms as they would normally with other elders in their community. The next bucket we're going to look at is family involvement. When last have you spoken to the families of your students? When last did you reach out to them simply to say how amazing their child is doing? If your answer to both of these questions were a few days ago, then great. If not, consider this. Family members are more likely to support your needs within the classroom if they know you respect their child and their family. Maintaining contact with a simple, "Hello, Jane Smith did amazing today during our volleyball challenge," or "We can't wait for you to stop by and check out the amazing work that John Smith is doing," will build rapport with families and students so that they are more supportive of your needs as an educator. Finally, when looking at culturally responsive pedagogy, our fourth bucket alludes to community culture in the classroom. Divide and conquer may have worked during the years of imperialism. However, in a classroom filled with students from multiple backgrounds, it poses more challenges than solutions. As an educator, your main task before facilitating a lesson or teaching something should always be to create a community and a sense of belonging between your students and yourself. In order to do so, it is recommended to incorporate the individual cultures of your students within the classroom environment so that they have a definitive connection with which to become invested. A great way to get this started is by playing music from the various cultures represented in your classroom as students work. Yesterday, we took a brief look at the 7 principles for culturally responsive teaching. In today's lesson, we're going to break down the 7 principles as detailed as possible so as to help us understand what each principle is, why it is important, and how it may look in your classroom environment. So, the first characteristic of culturally responsive teaching is positive perspectives on parents and families. So, what is it? Parents are the child's first teacher and are critically important partners to students and teachers. To help parents become aware of how they can be effective partners in the education process, teachers should engage in dialogue with parents early as possible about parents' hopes and aspirations for their child, their sense of what the child needs, and suggestions about ways teachers can help. Teachers explain their own limitations and invite parents to participate in their child's education in specific ways. Why is it important? Constant communication with parents is an important aspect of a child's educational progress. Involving parents and families in their child's educational process results in better scholastic achievement. When families share their funds of knowledge with the school community, teachers get a better idea of their students' background knowledge and abilities and how they learn best. How does it look? Seek to understand parents' hopes, concerns, and suggestions. Keep parents apprised of services offered by the school. Finally, gain cross-cultural skills necessary for successful exchange and collaboration. The second principle we are going to look at is communication of high expectations. What is it? All students should receive the consistent message that they are expected to attain high standards in their schoolwork. This message must be delivered by all that are involved in students' academic lives, that is, teachers, guidance counselors, administrators, and other school personnel. Teachers should understand students' behavior considering the norms of the communities in which they have grown. They should respect all students as learners with valuable knowledge and experience. Why is it important? Effective and consistent communication of high expectation helps students develop a healthy self-concept. It also provides the structure for intrinsic motivation and fosters an environment in which the student can be successful. How does it look? Communicate clear expectations. Be specific in what you expect students to know and be able to do. Create an environment in which there is genuine respect for students and a belief in their capability. Encourage students to meet expectations for a particular task and offer praise when standards are met. The fourth principle we are looking at is student-centered instruction. What is it? Student-centered instruction differs from the traditional teacher-centered instruction. Learning is cooperative, collaborative, and community-oriented. Students are encouraged to direct their own learning and to work with other students on research projects and assignments that are both culturally and socially relevant to them. Students become self-confident, self-directive, and proactive. Why is this important? Learning is a socially mediated process. Children develop cognitively by interacting with both adults and more knowledgeable peers. These interactions allow students to hypothesize, experiment with new ideas, and receive feedback. How does it look? Promoting student engagement. Have students generate lists of topics that they wish to study and or research. Or you can simply also have your students choose their own materials for a project or an assignment. Another way this can look in your classroom is share responsibility of instruction. This means initiating cooperative learning groups and having students lead discussion groups or reteaching concepts to their peers. Another way this may look is create inquiry-based, discovery-oriented curriculum. That means creating classroom projects that involve the community. Finally, encourage a community of learners. So form book clubs or literature circles for reading discussions. Conduct student-directed sharing time and use cooperative learning strategies such as jigsaws. The fifth principle of culturally responsive teaching is culturally mediated instruction. What is it? Instruction is culturally mediated when it incorporates and integrates diverse ways of knowing, understanding, and representing information. Instruction and learning take place in an environment that encourages multicultural viewpoints and allows for inclusion of knowledge that is relevant to the students. Learning happens in a culturally appropriate social situation, that is, relationships among students and those between teachers and students are congruent with students' cultures. Why is it important? Students need to understand that there is more than one way to interpret a statement, event, or action. By being allowed to learn in different ways or to share viewpoints and perspectives in a given situation based on their own cultural and social experiences, students become active participants in their learning. Hollins, which is one of the former researchers in culturally responsive teaching, believes that culturally mediated instruction provides the best learning conditions for all students. It may help decrease the number of incidences of unacceptable behavior from students who are frustrated with instruction not meeting their needs. Also, students from cultural groups who are experiencing academic success will be less inclined to form stereotypes about students from other cultures. So, how does this look in the classroom? Research students' experience with learning and teaching styles. Ask educators who come from the same cultural backgrounds as the students about effective ways to teach them. Visit the communities of students to find out how they interact and learn in that environment. Ask students about their learning style preferences. Interview parents about how and what students learn from them. Another way is devising and implementing different ways for students to be successful in achieving developmental milestones. This means ensuring success by setting realistic yet rigorous goals for individual students, allowing students to set their own goals for a project, and allowing the use of students' first language to enhance learning. Finally, create an environment that encourages and embraces culture. Employ patterns of management familiar to students. Allow students ample opportunities to share their cultural knowledge, question and challenge students on their beliefs and actions, and teach students to question and challenge their own beliefs and actions. The sixth principle for culturally responsive teaching is reshaping the curriculum. What is it? The curriculum should be integrated, interdisciplinary, meaningful, and student centered. It should include issues and topics related to the students' background and culture. It should challenge the students to develop higher order knowledge and skills. Why is it important? Integrating the various disciplines of a curriculum facilitates the acquisition of new knowledge. Students' strengths in one subject area will support new learning in another. Likewise, by using the students' personal experiences to develop new skills and knowledge, teachers make meaningful connections between school and real life situations. How does it look? Use resources other than textbooks for study. So have students research aspects of a topic within their community. Encourage students to interview members of their community who have knowledge of the topic that they are studying. Provide information to the students on alternative viewpoints or beliefs of a topic. You may also develop learning activities that are more reflective of students' backgrounds, which means including cooperative learning strategies, allowing students the choices of working alone or in groups on certain projects. And finally, develop integrated units around universal themes. The seventh and final principle for culturally responsive teaching is the teacher as facilitator. So, what is it? Teachers should develop a learning environment that is relevant to and reflective of their students' social, cultural, and linguistic experiences. They act as guides, mediators, consultants, instructors, and advocates for the students, helping to effectively connect their culturally and community based knowledge to the classroom learning experiences. Why is it important? And we're going to hark back to Latson and Billings, who notes that a key criterion for culturally relevant teaching is nurturing and supporting competence in both home and school cultures. Teachers should use the students' home and cultural experiences as a foundation upon which to develop knowledge and skills. Content learned in this way is more significant to the students and facilitates the transfer of what is learned in school to real life situations. So how might this look in your classroom? First and foremost, learn about your students' cultures. So have students share artifacts from home that reflect their culture. Have students write about traditions shared by their families. Have students research different aspects of their culture. You may also vary teaching approaches to accommodate diverse learning styles and language proficiency. So initiate cooperative learning groups. Have students participate in book clubs or literature circles. Use student-directed discussion groups. Speak in ways that meet the comprehension and language development needs of ELs as well. Finally, utilize various resources in students' communities. So have members of the community speak to students on various subjects. Ask members of the community to teach a lesson or give a demonstration in their field of expertise to the students. Invite parents to the classroom to show students alternative ways of approaching a problem. So an example of that in math is various ways of dividing numbers or naming decimals, etc. In addition to the 7 principles of culturally responsive pedagogy, there are 5 culturally responsive teaching strategies for educators. Now we're going to take a closer look at these tomorrow, but just to have them on your radar, they are: number 1, activate students' prior knowledge. Number 2, make learning contextual. So why does it matter? Why should these students learn this thing that you're trying to teach them? How does it connect to their world? Number 3, encourage students to leverage their cultural capital. Number 4, reconsider your classroom setup. And number 5, build relationships. Now, I know we've covered a lot of information in today's lesson. What we're going to do is we're going to put a pin in it today and come back to those 5 strategies tomorrow, in addition to being able to differentiate equity versus equality. So as we're moving throughout the rest of this module, your lens will be shifting now towards whether or not the instruction you're providing to your students, number one, is it culturally responsive, but also, are we teaching students with a lens of equity, or are we teaching students with a lens of equality? And we're going to see what the difference is starting tomorrow. I hope that you guys find this information to be helpful regardless of your position here at Saya, and I'm hopeful that the lessons that you are learning can transfer over into many other facets of your lives. Once again, thank you for completing the learning portion of Lesson 2 in Module 3, Culturally Responsive Pedagogy. Please remember to go over to Google Classroom and complete the quiz that we have up there on the platform. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to me at ray.badalidsai.org. Remember to CC your site director in on the email. And if you can't reach me via email for whatever reason, don't hesitate to send me a text message. Wish you guys best of health. If you have any questions, again, reach out to me. I'll be here to help as best as I can. Have a wonderful day.